Okay, now senior year comes around, and we're big men on campus now. We have 4 years. This is year 4. We're ready to go. We've finally ascended to the top of Mrs. T's Speech and Drama Society.
We're closely involved with all of our projects, including speech team, the plays, the hosting the annual lip sync competition.
Now this was either because she finally trusted us, or she was just so sick and tired of us that she didn't even care anymore, or we had finally tricked her into thinking that we were actually well behaved.
But even after 3 years of breaking us down, turning us into shells of our former selves, and making us question everything we ever knew, there was still a little bit left that she had to teach us.
Now, Mr. T alluded to this a little bit earlier, but on every speech trip, aside from threatening to disown us if we got into trouble, Mrs. T would always stress the importance of being able to witness to others through our actions.
She was really good at explaining to us that, we were a light for God to everybody at the tournament, and that if that didn't work out, then she would just call down the bears on us. So.
And once again, Mr. T kind of stole our thunder, but kids from other schools would often join us when we would pray, not just after, but in between rounds. And there were a few times where we saw some of the more questionable speeches actually get cleaned up a little bit over the course of the year.
Now, senior year was also memorable, not only because we were 1 year away from being free men, but also because Mrs. T gave us not 1, but 2 stage shows to be a part of.
The first was a version of the Christmas Carol, which turned out to honestly be the best show I've ever worked on. It's one of my favorite shows I've ever done, and I've done a lot with you. But that was my favorite one. And you felt the need to have me play 3 different characters with 3 different accents. And I could barely understand what I was saying. No one could understand anything I was saying, except for you, because you had the script in front of you. So it was like, okay, that's good.
So we followed that up with Cotton Patch Gospel, and now when I found out that it was going to be a musical, I remember trying to help you cut back on some of the songs. But then you caught on and realized when I cut them all out that you probably should do something different.
We need 2 songs in a musical. Now, I still have no idea, and I was very opposed to a musical, if you remember. I was like, why? We're in drama. If we wanted to sing, we would have joined choir. And I don't understand why she thought it was a good idea, but she obviously knows what she's doing, because it turned out to be, it turned out so well that we ended up doing it again that summer at their church.
Now, after we graduated this year, we thought it was over, done, finished.
But after 4 years with Mrs. T, you would have thought that we would have learned by now that that was not the case.
You see, Mrs. T actually has a unique ability. Your students actually like you.
So even though we had graduated, it turns out we still had a little bit more time to spend with her.
See, Mrs. T even made Richard come back early next year to complete a project he never did in her class.
Okay, hold on. The thing is, I had graduated already. I was done. I had the gown on, I had the little certificate, I walked the walk, everything. I was done. But Mrs. T basically came up to me and said, you do this show, or you do this speech right now, you come back, or bears will eat you.
We later found out that her favorite verse had nothing to do with bears or violence, which would have been nice to know a little earlier.
Now, over the course of this year, Mrs. T actually let this guy help coach the speech team.
Yeah!
Oh, no.
One of my favorite memories of this year was when we were walking in Nat Qualls, and all of a sudden she says, Josh, stop. I was like, what? She's like, look at that guy's shirt. It has the word theater on it. Okay, that's a cool word. She's like, theater and Heather have the same letters. Except they don't.
No, they don't.
Don't.
Heather has an extra H and theater has an extra T.
They have the same letter.
I never thought I'd say this to you, but
Okay, now all of this brings us to right here and right now. And obviously, Mrs. Templeton has had a very profound effect on our lives, not only our lives, but of everyone in this room, countless others, And the reason we're here tonight, obviously, is to thank you for all of that.
So I just want to say thank you for listening to all my crazy goals and challenging me to actually accomplish them, and for supporting me and encouraging me when I sometimes freaked out. I also want to say thanks for giving me a place where my opinions were mattered and valued, even if you still to this day sometimes call me Ian. Or worse, Sean.
Now thank you for all the threats, for the endless nights of practicing both speech and drama, and for making me come back to do an assignment for a class I had already finished at a school I had already graduated from.
Thank you for reminding me about the power of prayer, and for the constant reminders that hard work is really important, but what's really important is God's will, and that without that, nothing matters anyway.
Now, there are two things in my life that made me realize that I want to be an entertainer and I want to tell stories. The first is the movie Jurassic Park. The second is Mrs. T. Very good company in my head right now. Help ignite my passion for storytelling, which I still am attempting to carry out to this day. Thank you, you know what, for always giving God credit for every success that we had together, that you have with your students. God was always the first person to get credit, or the first omnipotent being to get credit. And thank you for teaching us not just, how to be good performers, but how to be good people and how to be good Christians too.
And thank you for being a servant of God and a good example for all of us. And for being a teacher, a job that doesn't often get thanks. And finally, thank you for just helping mold us into the people we are today.
No matter how loud, obnoxious, deranged, psychotic, or needy, thank you, because we wouldn't have turned out any other way without you.